top end is so much better now. Okay, so I ordered these a while ago, and I know some people have been asking about them, and we're actually going to finally put it in my car, which are the spring upgrades. It's the 124 spring upgrade kit on Torque Motorsports website, which is damnfastdaily.com, I believe. I'll be sure to link it in the description. But these are supposed to help a lot of things, especially top end power, and it does give you a little bit more horsepower and torque as proven in their dyno tests, as you can watch on YouTube. So these really help a lot with the springs tend to start floating in there because the stock ones can't reset fast enough because they're really soft, and when they're not resetting fast enough, they just tend to rattle around inside of their little chambers inside of there. Okay, so we're just gonna dive straight into taking everything apart. PCV box gotta come off, engine cover, coil packs gotta come out. Basically, everything on top of your engine needs to just come out. Yeah, so basically just take everything that's on top of your valve cover off. We may have to remove the timing cover, but we're not too sure on that yet. So once we get a little bit deeper, we'll figure that out. This job's only supposed to take an hour to an hour and a half. So we'll find out right now. We are filming, so subtract a little bit of time, but it's 1:20 right now, and we're gonna go ahead and start. Ooh.
So this is my first time actually seeing this multi-air system that Dodge Chrysler they've engineered and designed. So unlike your normal dual overhead cam car, this car is a single overhead cam, but as you can see, the cam is very different than your traditional single overhead cam, because usually on a single overhead you have two lobes. If it's a 4-valve per chamber setup, you usually have two intake lobes here on the cam, and then two exhaust lobes for controlling each valve. So on this one, there's obviously, because I believe this is still a 4-valve system for each chamber, so you have the two exhaust lobes here, and then there's this one single lobe right here, and inside of this chamber right here, if you can see, there's a sideways spring, and there's a roller that rolls on this actual lobe here, and this is what's going to control the valve lift for the intake. And this whole mechanism inside of here, when we take it apart and we dig into it, we'll show you, but that is what's controlling the intake valve lift, instead of just having your traditional hydraulic lifter set up with the exhaust that this car has. So it's really different because it only has that one lobe for the intake control, and I think it's pretty cool. It's just different. I've never seen it like that before. Seeing the springs sideways and stuff like that, that's pretty cool. So yeah, we're just taking it apart and get into getting the new springs in, old springs out, new springs in. So yeah, we'll catch up with you when we have this whole thing off.
All right, so when removing these, there's 9 Torx heads. They're T45s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. There's nothing in the middle. Don't stick anything down in there. There's nothing in there. When removing them, it's not super stressed that you go in sequence, but it's a good habit to have. But when you are putting it back on, definitely do it in sequence. You're going to start with the 4 outsides, tighten all the way the 2 fronts, and then the rears. But we're not there yet, so we're just gonna go ahead and pop this off. And then when it does pop off, there's probably a little bit of tension underneath, so it's gonna kind of hop up, but nothing too crazy. Oh, it's so slippery. Okay, there's a gasket under my hand. Can you move this metal bar? those are what push down.
So sick. Alright, so right here we did disassemble one of the rocker assemblies, but I just wanted to get into detail about how this thing actually works, because I know some people out there will be interested to know how it works. So all these little I guess you can call them rollers, internal rollers, or these are what push down on the valves essentially. So the spring right here controls the oil pressure directed towards these, pushing it down into the valves, which is the intake valves. And I don't know, because I didn't engineer this, but I don't know how the whole thing works, but it's pretty cool when you push up on these. You push down on them and then push up, oil comes out here. So it's all based off of hydraulic pressure from the oil, which is really cool. But we're gonna get into how this comes out. And this is one of those springs and then the retainer for it. So pretty much it really helps if you have two people, which you might have to use two people. But you push down on the spring, take the roller, and then just kind of roll it off to the side. And then that relieves the tension off of the spring assembly. And then it just slides right out. Boom! And here, let me get a new spring. Kind of compare here. And the difference in girth of this spring compared to this one.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah.
So that's what we're going to be replacing, and that's what's going to give us our the correct oil pressure and no I guess lift, or no floating, no spring floating for this whole assembly. So yeah, should be able to go faster. This is going to be difficult.
Yeah, they're a little stiffer. Oh, you got it. Ooh. And that's one completely done.
And then we just got to do that with the rest of them.
Okay, so we're ready to reinstall that multi-air system. The gasket that's on the bottom, when you buy the kit, there's the option to buy all new gaskets, which are the spark plug tube seals, the bottom cover gasket, and the valve cover gasket as well. So this one, when you pull the stock one off, you'll see where they had silicone, but you're going to want to put some right here, just a thin layer right at the edges of the gasket on either side, a little layer there. And then you can place the multi-air unit back on, and then when you go to put the valve cover back on, you got to put just little blobs here, 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 and on the other side of that here. Just put little blobs there, and then that'll seal it. Just get some sealant. The kit does come with some, so you'll be good there. And so let's reinstall the multi-air.
Alright, so when you get the multi-air system in place, we didn't film it, but when you get it to where it wants to start resisting going back down because of the rollers, as you can see, this spring is actually compressed into the mechanism. So what you have to do is you have to go in evenly on the front side. So what we did is we put in both bolts for this side and then both bolts for this side on the ends. And what this side was the one that it might vary. It all depends on where your engine is, you know, regarding the cam position. But for us, it was this lobe right here that was giving us the resistance. which is normal because in a sense you're fighting the actual spring to go back into place. So we worked mostly on this one, on this bolt here, this T45, and you just want to go down evenly. The main thing is to go down evenly so you don't get cockeyed. The whole assembly isn't cockeyed going in, because there are dial pins for the threaded portions for where the bolts go. There's one right here on this bolt, and then there's one right here for the back bolt.
There's also one right here.
Okay, yeah, one right there too. So you just want to go in evenly, make sure nothing's getting kinked, and once you get it to the point where we are right now, where the actual lobe is pushed into the rocker, pushing the spring in, then you can kind of start clamping everything back down. So we're gonna get to that point where we have everything put back together, and then we're gonna torque everything down in sequence.
All right, now we're gonna start torquing all these Torx heads down. We're gonna start from the very center one that's in the back first and work our way outwards. Torque them to, you can go 28 to 30 foot-pounds. We're going 30 just to be safe, and like that. And then we'll go to this one. What we just did right there, we just grabbed some of the oil and rubbed it on these little rockers, just so when we start it, it's not super dry, and just so it's properly lubricated. Alright. That thing sounded gnarly, dude.
The socket's stuck.
There you go. Alright, so everything's buttoned up. There's a few things that we didn't put back on. The chassis bar's not on right now, and the coil packs we left unplugged because we are going to prime the system with oil so we don't start it and have it kind of be dry. So we're gonna prime it, give it a few cycles, get some oil in that multi-air system, and then start it up.
I got it. Alright, so.
Alright, while doing that system kind of prime, when you go to start it, make sure that your foot is fully depressed on the gas pedal, because it will shut off the injectors. So when you start it up, it's not just flooded. Yeah. So
One more time. Alright, let's hook up these coil packs, boy.
give her a shot. Then we can go. Whoop, 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 whoop. So if you notice it sounded a little whack, that's okay. It's gonna sound a little weird the first few times you start it, so you wanna start it and then turn it off, let it chill for a second, start it again. It's just getting all the air out of that system, and then it'll start to run normal. Well, it's running normal now. I got a check engine light, so I'm gonna check the scanner and just see what it is. It could just be something from unplugging a lot of the stuff in there.
That and because of the oil.
And because of the oil, so but it's running smoother now. We're gonna see the code. If it's nothing crazy, go drive it, see how it does.
See if it pops up again.
See if it pops up again. Yeah, and you know, kind of
feel her out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, so we're driving it now. We're just doing a little coaster lap, getting it up to temp, and then we're gonna actually see what she can do, see the difference. So far, it kind of feels smoother. I'm not super 100% on it yet. We'll really know when I take off. What do you think? Do you feel a difference?
The top end is like, it just keeps going, bro.
Oh my god. Oh, she's definitely quicker. Oh, wow. Dude, top end is so much better now. So after that drive, I'm going to have to say I 110% recommend getting the valve springs for your Fiat. Before, because I did dyno it, and this is kind of one of the main reasons I did get these springs, I went and dynoed it off camera just to see what was happening, and I died off really hard at like 4,500 RPM. It just went, and now that we got these things in, Trey can contest, it actually wants to keep pulling and not just fall on its face. So I'm going to re-dyno it, see what the new power is, see what the new torque is, and see if it does die off, but I haven't found that it does. It feels way better. I mean, honestly, they're $90 for the springs, and it's well worth it for an hour and a half of work. But yeah, I recommend it. It's super easy to do. Just take your time, do things how they should be done. You know, yeah, way better. So if you made it to the end of this video, which I hope you did, and you found it helpful, please drop a like. Please subscribe, and if you want to see every time we post, click the little bell by the subscribe button. And any questions you have, feel free to comment them or hit us up on Instagram, which we'll post right there. Ding. So DM us on there, and yeah, thank you for watching.